Eagles go to 2-0, and today we've got a lot going on. We got players being released, to players being hurt, to a whole lot of nothing about A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts. But at the end of the day, I think about this. DeAndre Swift, we still only seen half his game. Dallas still stinks. Yo, by the way, King Dingbat here, and hope everybody's having a great day. Hope you guys are doing well, be hanging in there. Scary 2-0. That's what I'll say. Scary 2-0. Why? Because if the Eagles, and when the Eagles start playing their best football, a lot of these teams are in trouble in the NFL, and they know this. That's why the Eagles at 2-0 right now is a very dangerous threat to the rest of the National Football League. Now, we've got a ton going on, a lot to talk about, but before we get into it, if you're new to the channel and like the content, make sure you hit that like button. More importantly, make sure you subscribe to the most censored, the most throttled polls, Eagles content creator in all of the internet. If you've been subscribed for a while, I just want to thank you guys so much for all the support you give to me. It truly means a lot. We are sitting here 2 games in. We are 2-0. And yes, we have not played our best football. But guess what? We're still undefeated. And can you imagine when this team finally starts to take off? It's going to be something. It really, really is. Now, we do have some players movement, some things going on. I want to get into it right now. First thing, Avonte Maddox. It looks like Avonte Maddox, and this time it's not his big toe. Usually it's his big ass toe. This time it looks like it's not. But once again, we are going to be dealing with an Avonte Maddox injury. And I hate the fact that he's hurt. I think he's a great player when he plays. But man, it just seems like every year we're dealing with an Avonte Maddox injury. Zach Berman wrote this: Eagles cornerback Avonte Maddox's initial diagnosis is a torn pectoral, according to a league source, Adam Schefter reported. It is a season-ending injury pending the results of a second opinion. So Maddox is getting a second opinion, but it looks like it's a torn pectoral. So it looks like we're going to lose him for the year, and I think this is a pretty significant loss. Now, I will say this. We've got some young guys that I think will emerge, and I also think you got to remember in training camp, the Eagles were using James Bradbury in the slot. They were putting him in the slot at times. This may be very significant going forward this year. Do you make Job a starter the rest of the year? I know he didn't have his best game, but I still think he could play. Do you get Eli Ricks in there? It's going to be interesting to see what the Eagles do. There was some movement in the roster. Jeff Mosher wrote this: Pound Eagles announced they released linebacker Rashaan Evans from the practice squad. That was very quick. It was like less than a week. And waived running back Trey Sermon from injured reserve. Now, I assume they're releasing Trey Sermon from injured reserve and not bringing him back, or are they going to bring him back to the practice squad in Rashaan Evans' place? And to me, I would have to ask, why would they do that? Do they think Gainwell's going to be out for some significant time? Were they happy with the way Penny played last night? I don't know. But clearly, the one guy you have to be happy about is DeAndre Swift. I mean, you absolutely have to love what you saw last night. The guy had 175 yards. He didn't even know he had 175 yards after the game. But this was the first time he had played in the Link, I believe. And he had a great game. And here's the thing about DeAndre Swift. I think everybody pretty much can see the difference in talent and explosion between, and pause if I need to, but the explosion in DeAndre Swift and Rashad Penny. I mean, yeah, well, Rashad Penny and him on the field, you definitely could see it. But also in Gainwell, too. I think there's a level of explosiveness that DeAndre Swift has that nobody else has. Now, here's the great thing about DeAndre Swift, okay? DeAndre Swift, everybody talked about what he was going to do in the passing game. Oh, DeAndre Swift in the passing game is going to do this. DeAndre Swift in the passing game is going to do this. He's going to be a receiver out of the backfield. Yeah, he can be that. He's definitely a good receiver out of the backfield. But you also saw what he could do on the ground. This kid is a dual threat ultimate weapon. I think getting out of Detroit was something that he needed to do, and I think Detroit gave up on him too soon. Detroit has a habit of giving up on players too soon, and I thought giving up on him was really too soon. And if DeAndre Swift can stay healthy the rest of the year, he is going to put up big numbers and will be an improvement over Miles Sanders. The Eagles got a stud in a running back. They found the stud. And I hate to say it, but if Gainwell doesn't get hurt, I don't think you see DeAndre Swift see the field the way he did. And now there's no excuse for the Eagles to not use him going forward. It would be criminal for the Eagles not to use him going forward. So I'm very, very happy with DeAndre Swift and what I saw. Now, in yesterday's game, there's so much that went on, but it's obvious. I mean, it's obvious that we're not playing our best football, okay? And there's two ways to look at it. There are people who look at it and say, "Oh my gosh, we don't look good. We're done. We're not gonna win like this." And they're right. You're not gonna win playing like this long term. But here's the thing: it's September. The only team and only fan base that thinks they win a Super Bowl in September is the Dallas Cowboys. They think you win in September. You don't. You win in December. I mean, it's so funny. Mark Holmes can't wait to go out and make videos. Hurts just isn't the same guy. Hurts didn't do this. Hurts didn't do that. Hurts had 3 touchdowns yesterday. He had 3 touchdowns. What is he talking about? Hurts has struggled the first few weeks. I get it. But the one thing about Hurts that I think different is his makeup, And Nick Sirianni talked about it, He said, yeah, we haven't played. Well, you know what? Let me just show you what Nick Sirianni said.
How fortunate do you feel you are being 2-0, and obviously you haven't played your best games yet?
It's way easier to correct when you're 2-0 and no one's feelings are in it, and so we can really press in this meeting tomorrow that we're going to have with the players and hold ourselves accountable as coaches and hold them accountable as players, and that's what we'll do. And so obviously we're not playing. We didn't play our cleanest game. I think the first week was a little bit of a more clean game for the defense and not as clean for the offense, and a little bit vice versa tonight. So we'll go back. It's you're right. We're 2-0, and a lot of teams would like to be sitting at 2-0. And like I said, when you're in this position, you can really and guys don't know that we're not playing to the best of our abilities. You can really, that's where you can make a lot of growth.
So I totally agree with Nick Sirianni. Yeah, you want to play better football. Yeah, you want to cut out the mistakes. But when you can talk about those things and being 2-0, it's not the worst thing in the world. I truly believe this team will get their issues fixed on offense, on defense. But you do have 2 offensive coordinators. You did have these guys not play all preseason, okay? You did have to play week 1 and then come back, 5 days later and play on a Thursday with, 4 starters out. Okay, there was a lot going against this team, and they won. This is going to build character. This is how good teams find a way to win. And you're not going to win every game by a blowout. It doesn't work that way. So I look at this as a character building type win, and the Eagles trying to figure it out. As long as we're peaking and playing good in December, playing good in January, playing good in February, we'll be okay. If they're playing like this in December, then we have some big issues. But for the most part, I think the Eagles really, I think everything's fine in terms of, we're going to get this, we're going to knock off the rust, but we're still undefeated right now. We're still 2-0, and there's just so many good things and positives that I see. I guess, in general, I tend to be a half full kind of guy. I always see a cup half full instead of half empty. And I look at this team and I think, my gosh, DeAndre Swift, absolute stud. DeVonta Smith, I said top 5 wide receiver when this thing ends. It's true. He's going to be. Look at Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. They're absolute monsters. Did you see the sack that Jordan Davis did? If you haven't, go back and watch it. I don't feel comfortable showing it for copyright reasons, but I went back and watched that play. Dude, he literally threw an offensive lineman into another offensive lineman, and he hit the quarterback and went down, and he got the sack. Jordan Davis is a stud. He's a monster, and he's playing on third down. A lot of people are going to have to come over and say, yeah, Jordan Davis is that dude. And we know what Jalen Carter is. He's that dude too. Great play in the backfield against the running back. A lot of good things to take out of these first 2 weeks. But there are a lot of things that we have to fix nonetheless. You're not going to hear me argue and say you don't. You definitely do. But you're 2-0 at the end of the day. No matter what anybody does this Sunday, I don't care if the Cowboys beat the Jets 1,000-0. At the end of the day, when Sunday night hits, you're going to have the same exact record. So we got time. We got a mini bye week to figure it out, and we will. This was a weird game because, you know, there are times you are frustrated, but then you're like, it's up 27-7. You know, the Eagles, they're not even playing their best football. They're struggling. What do you think they're running at? Like, what do we think we're running? Like 60% right now? And you're still 2-0. You still were up 20 points on Minnesota. Come on. I mean, this team is going to get it together. I know they are. And everybody wants to make, you know, the big deal about the A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts argument at the sideline. This, to me, is one of the most overblown things I've ever seen. Seriously, I think this is so overblown, okay? Because they're best friends, and players are going to talk to other players, and they're going to have conversations, and there are going to be times where guys disagree with what's going on or what they think should be going on. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, people try to act like this is like McNabb and Owens. That was a different situation. What made the whole Owens-McNabb thing back in 2004 versus Pittsburgh when we were losing was that McNabb had his hands on his side, and he's pacing back and forth trying to get away from Owens, and Owens has his helmet on, and he's behind him yelling at him, just keep talking, and McNabb wouldn't acknowledge him. He just was ignoring him. That was a completely different situation. These guys were engaged in conversation. And you know, here's what Hurts said about it. He said, I think everybody wants to make a play and everybody wants to contribute. I have no worries about him. He's a great player, a great teammate, a great friend, and we'll do everything to win. And that's pretty much about right. And I thought, actually, DeVonta Smith, to me, he broke it down the best. Here's what DeVonta Smith said about the whole thing between Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown.
That's what's going on.
He gonna be all right, man. You know, that's part of being a competitor, man. You always want to be feel like you're part of the team, helping the team and things like that, man. You know, anytime something like that going on, it's not nothing, bad. He's not bashing nobody, man. He just, wants to feel a part of the team, wants to, help us. I mean, at the end of the day, you grind with these guys all throughout the week. So when it's time to go out there on Sunday, Monday, Thursday, whatever it is, man, you just want to, be battling with your guys.
So you see, that's all it was. It was a guy who was competitive, wanted to help his team win. And you know what? That's what happens. A.J. Brown is a great player, one of the best players, and of course he wants to get the ball. Definitely does. Now I'll tell you, if there's any mistake that was made after the whole thing, it was this. The Eagles went, I think, like the next 3 plays to him. Like, you got to be like, have your argument, have your discussion, and then come out and start running DeAndre Swift, because that's what was working. I don't think it was that big of a deal. I really don't. And part of it is because Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown are really good friends. They're best of friends. And these things have to happen. You have to have discussions somehow. You have to talk to people. And that's the way it goes. So I think right now it's a bit overblown. I think they're looking for things to talk about. And to me, there's plenty of other things to talk about. Because we got to get this offense humming. We got to get and that's maybe that pause. I got pause. I don't know. But you got to get this offense going. You've got injuries on the defense you have to account for and figure out. I do think this team has a legitimate hole at the middle of the field. I think you need another linebacker. I think you need a safety possibly. I thought Justin Evans had a so-so game. I thought he played much better than a week ago. But I think that, Howie is going to have to try to do something at the trade deadline when the time comes. But the Eagles, we got a lot of things going on. And the A.J. Brown, DeVonta Smith thing, to me, is overblown. It's not the same situation as the Owens McNabb. Go look, if you haven't, go look at the McNabb. If you're too young, don't remember it, go look at the McNabb Owens against Pittsburgh 2004. And we'll look at that compared. It's a totally different thing. Owens was on McNabb's ass, and he wouldn't let up. These guys were having a conversation, and that's the way it goes. But the Eagles, at the end of the day, like I said, we're 2-0, and 2-0 is what matters more than anything, okay? You get the win, even in struggling, and you know what? You live to get better the next week. You live to fight another day, and that's how the Eagles have to approach it. I will be streaming. I will be streaming on Sunday. Right now, I'm not sure what other games I'm going to do. If I'm going to do any other games, it really just depends on the schedule, who's playing, what game seems interesting. But I will be doing Cowboys, the Jets. Unfortunately, no Aaron Rodgers. But that game, I believe, is a 4 o'clock game, so it's the perfect time for me to stream. So if you want to come hang out with me, we'll have the Cowboys meltdown cam, just in case Zach Wilson puts the mothers down and leaves all the mommies alone and goes out and decides to play football. We'll have it ready. So come hang out with me. Should be a lot of fun. Don't forget, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe. The Eagles, they're 2-0. That's what matters the most. And just remember this, because this is what I'm thinking about today. DeAndre Swift, we haven't even seen the other half of his game. With that said, take care. Talk to you later. Of course, don't be a dingbat. Remember, it's how we vision. We're all just living in it. So I thought Jalen Carter had another really strong game for a rookie. But, there's one rookie that I still want to see. Nolan Smith. The Eagles really didn't use Nolan Smith. I really think they got to find a way to get this kid on the field. He's too athletic. He's too talented to not have on the field. And I think they need to find a way to utilize him and get him on the field. I don't even care if you have to use him as an off-the-ball linebacker at times. I think it's important to try to get him and utilize him. These are the things that the Eagles coaching staff is going to have to work out. Also, Keely Ringo, let's give Ringo some credit. Why, Johnny Ringo, you look like somebody just walked all over your grave. Ringo might not have seen the field on defense, but as special teams, he had a fumble recovery, had a great tackle as a gunner. I thought he played really, really well. I do. And I got to say, speaking of special teams, you need a new punt returner. Get Britton Covey the hell out of the game. He scares the hell out of me. Denzel Washington out.